All right. Now we got YouTube going. All right. Thank you for joining us. All our fine folks over on YouTube. Uh, anyway, you guys know me. I'm Anthony with themovieblog.com, and I'm back here with another video. Now, this time we're going to be doing our breakdown and analyses of all of the DC Studios news that came out in the past week. Now, I know that this live was supposed to happen a couple times this week. There's just been a lot of information that came out, like way more than I expected. So I wanted to take some time to really dive into that, absorb as much information as I could from all the different sources, and then come back and then do a live breakdown of all the information. So I went ahead, went through all the different sources. I did the work so you guys don't have to do it. Went through all the different sources. I read all the different articles. There's a lot of information out there about all the different projects. For those of you who don't know, DC Studios is the newly formed film studio that was created by new Warner Brothers CEO David Zaslav to kind of be like its own separate content vertical, is what he called it. Film studio that's going to be releasing character projects on DC comic book characters. So we're going to see films, we're going to see television shows, we're going to see video games. It's supposed to be a whole combination of things that are be coming out of DC in the next few years. And recently, new co-CEO, James Gunn went ahead and announced a whole bunch of projects. So of those projects, I wanted to just go through each of them one by one, just detailing some of the information that we have about them that's out there, and maybe just chat about it. And also, of course, introduce myself to you, the audience. Now, I feel like we need to get to know each other a little bit better. So I wanted to start doing these live so that you guys can at least engage with me when I'm like doing these news videos. I know you guys see the news videos and it's like, oh, I want to comment, I want to say something, but now you can actually engage with me while we're going through these news. Hold on, I'm like looking at my setup a little bit. I'm like, now we're complete, right? You hear that? I like that. I would keep it on, but like, because it looks so cool, I could see it like in the video. It's got this little glowing effect. I would keep it on, but like, there's like a constant hum. I don't think you guys can hear it. Otherwise, I'm like, yo, that's kind of fire. I should leave that. All right, so I was gonna give it a little bit, wait for anybody stragglers to join us. I know some of the folks over on Facebook. Yeah, I was you guys were definitely looking forward to joining. So I wanted to give a moment. Test this out real quick. Now I'm gonna just go dive right in. All right, we got chat. All right, so let's dive right in. Right, if you guys don't catch it live, you'll always be able to catch it on the replay and join me on the next live. Oh, I go live Mondays. Mondays at 6 p.m. We're going to be doing our next live for The Last of Us. If you guys watch that show on Sundays, I'm gonna be doing a review of the show on Monday night, going through all the pros and cons. I was doing the good and the bad. I'm going to go through it from beginning to end with you guys, talking about any of the intense moments from the episode that we might want to chat about. So join me there. But as far as this new DC slate, let's just, at this point, let's just go ahead and hop right into it, right? All right. So, for those of you who saw James Gunn's video that was posted just about everywhere on the internet, you can even find it on this channel. Um, you'll have undoubtedly heard James Gunn kind of explain what his mission is. It was kind of like a mission statement about what it is that he hopes to accomplish with DC over the next 10 years. His job and Peter's job is to make sure DCU is connected through films, animation, and gaming moving forward. Now, James went ahead to go along and give a really cool, I guess, announcement of a few movies and TV shows. Um, he didn't mention any games, but a few movies and TV shows. Now, DC has been going through, let's just say, a rough patch when it comes to their cinematic releases over the past decade or so. Things have just not been cohesive, and he's going to make things unified. He's going to introduce a whole slate of projects. This is just the first chapter. It's not even the entirety of the first chapter. This is just a portion of the first chapter, and it's called Gods and Monsters. So we know that with the old, as far as the older projects that were already in flight or projects that we know are already announced and still be coming under DC, we know that there's now going to be a DC Elseworlds brand. The DC Elseworlds brand, that's where you're going to see all the projects like Matt Reeves' Batman, Todd Phillips' Joker, and they mentioned Teen Titans Go, which I'm surprised got singled out there. But yeah, it's Teen Titans Go. We still have Shazam Fury of the Gods coming out, which apparently, nothing is going to prohibit that actor from continuing to play Shazam in the DCU. We have The Flash, which resets the entire DC universe, and it sounds like that DC is does is Ezra Miller's not off the table yet. I'm gonna just leave it at that. Ezra Miller is not losing the role of the Flash yet, or may not ever be. We don't know. Blue Beetle, that's going to come out, and again, one of those things that say won't have a problem with using that same actor in the DCU, and Aquaman 2, kind of the same thing. Now, again, he doesn't explicitly say that these iterations of these characters are going to continue in the new DCU, but he does hint that there's like a chance, right? There's a really, really strong chance, especially with Shazam, um, Ezra Miller with the Flash, and I guess Blue Beetle. The Ezra Miller one I know is gonna rub people the wrong way. Every time I say it, it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. It just doesn't feel right. But it is what it is. But this leads directly into the next few projects under Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters, and the first one obviously is going to be Creature Commandos. So let me click over here. I'm on the wrong screen. There we go. Okay, so right. So James Gunn announced the other day that Creature Commandos is going to be the first project coming out of DCU. It's going to be an animated project, which is going to be really interesting, and it's also going to be the first project to, I guess, give us an example or demonstration of how the same actors are going to be portraying the same characters both in live action and animation. So I'm guessing James Gunn's brother is going to be continuing to play his role as Weasel, as shown in this image here. There's also Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, a couple other characters. Really, really interesting. Um, the details about it are going to be exciting. I think this is a really interesting one for James Gunn, especially because this just seems like it's going to fit his writing style, right? This seems like this is something that's it's an obscure band of misfits that are going to be trying to save the world under everyone's radar, and that is right up James Gunn's alley. That's his bread and butter. I'm interested because he's writing all 10 episodes, so I'm really curious to see him write Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein and their interactions there. Um, this seems like this is a right fit for James Gunn. We don't know much else. We don't know who's directing it. Let me see. Let me double check my notes. I don't think we know who's directing this one. We don't know who's starring in it except for maybe James Gunn's brother, or is even what it's going to be based on. Obviously, it's going to be based on the Creature Commandos comics, but Weasel wasn't there, so we wonder exactly if there's going to be any sort of inspiration from a comic storyline that they're adapting. We don't know yet. James Gunn is writing it, so it could be anything. So what we do know is that Creature Commandos is an old comic. It's kind of old. It's 3 years older than me, so kind of old. It was first launched in 1980. The premise features Frankenstein's monster teaming up with a werewolf, a vampire, and a gorgon to fight Nazis in World War II. It doesn't appear that Gunn's version takes quite the same approach. Weasel, one of the characters from Gunn's 2021 film, The Suicide Squad, is one of the commandos, along with Rick Flag's father, Rick Flag Sr. Animation, Gunn said, allows their creative collaborators to tell stories that are gigantic, but without spending, $50 million an episode. So this is really, really cool to me. This is really, really interesting, especially because we got these additional little details. Now, these details weren't included in that video that he did where he first announced the project. You had to dig. I think I found this one on Variety. Variety had a whole bunch of, like, if you guys haven't read the Variety article yet, you need to read the Variety article. I'm breaking down the things from the Variety article, but you might want to go ahead, go check that out, and interpret it yourself. Maybe bring something that I might have missed into the chat. But it's really interesting if you are familiar with Creature Commandos on how this might be adapted. I'm really curious to see where they might go with this. So I'm also really interested that they're bringing back Rick Flag Sr. Well, not really interested. I'm kind of interested that they're bringing in Rick Flag Sr. for this. Spoiler alert: if you guys saw the Suicide Squad, or is it Suicide? Was it the Suicide? This is the Suicide Squad, right? That was the James Gunn one, the Suicide Squad. Rick Flag, yo, he, mm-mm, mm-mm, he ain't with us no more, y'all. His character is done, and I guess Rick Flag Sr. might be. I don't know what he's doing, right? I don't like. I didn't really pay close attention to Rick Flag when he was in the Suicide Squad movie, so I don't remember if he ever talked about family. But, eh, eh. I think this is like a cute little avenue for James Gunn to kind of do his thing, to stretch his wings and show off his writing and express himself with doing that comedy that he likes to do with these characters, especially because it's going to have low expectations. So here's my thing with James Gunn and his writing, and I was talking with a friend of mine about this. The thing about these adaptations, the thing about these characters, the thing that's important when James Gunn is going off and doing his writing, and to an extent, same thing with Zack Snyder, is you mess with people's expectations when you start using characters that are already established, right? If people already know or have an idea of what they think these characters should be like, and you decide to just flip it on its head, people are going to get a reaction to that, right? They're going to not necessarily be happy with every decision that you make. But because he's picking such obscure characters in the DC universe with Creature Commandos, this is it. This is James Gunn's opportunity to just go cut loose, right? Do whatever it is that you want. I think it's a really cool opportunity for him to do that. I'm excited to see what comes out of it, especially when he doesn't have that expectation in my head to meet. He could just be himself. And I don't know if I've seen James Gunn just be full James Gunn under Marvel or under DC. I don't think we've seen that. I think the closest we probably have seen was that old movie with what was that movie? It was with the dude from The Office, Super. Shut up, crime. Like it was like something like that. I remember he used to just say that, shut up, crime. Um, but yeah, I don't think we've seen James Gunn get an opportunity to really express himself, really go all out in exploring his creativity. But this is going to be his big chance to do that. But that's what Creature Commandos is. Um, I expect this one to come out soon too. They say that this one is already in production. So based off of this image, it doesn't seem like this was just thrown together. I hope not. It seems like this project might be coming sooner than we think. I know that James Gunn only got hired last November, but he's expecting a whole bunch of projects to come out before 2025, right? I've been waiting on Invincible season 2 for like it feels like 5 years. So somehow his animators are gonna be, I don't know, they're gonna be drawn with their feet or something. They're gonna get this joint done, and it's gonna be out pretty soon. It's gotta be soon, right? 2025 is gonna be here before we know it. But yeah, Creature Commandos, y'all. I think that's everything there is. We don't know, again, we don't know cast, we don't know directors, we just know writer, which is James Gunn. But I'm expecting more details to come out on this one soon. Let's see what else we got. Oh yeah. So right after Creature Commandos, James Gunn went ahead and announced the next HBO Max series, which is going to be Waller. Now, Waller is going to be the, I guess, spiritual continuation of Peacemaker, starring Viola Davis. Viola Davis, who played the character Amanda Waller in The Suicide Squad in 2016, reprised her role in Suicide Squad for James Gunn in 2020. It's coming out, and it's gonna another one of those that's gonna be a lot sooner than we probably think. Now, the details around this particular project are we're pretty light on the initial announcement. One thing that we did get confirmed again was a little bit more with the production. So I think this probably was the one with the most production announcements that we had. Right, we know that James Gunn is super curious and involved. He may They kind of hinted that he might be writing it. He didn't announce that he was writing it, but they kind of hinted that he might be writing it. And I think that there were rumors online that he's interested in directing this one as well. I don't know how many episodes this is planning to be, but there was a rumor that he would be interested in directing this, which would be incredible, right? Because I mean, he's clearly busy. So to start directing films while being the CEO, or I'm sorry, directing HBO series with while being the CEO of the studio, that would be impressive to say the least, right? Um, so again, Viola Davis, she made her appearance in the as Amanda Waller in the David Ayer Suicide Squad movie. She reprised her role in 2020. The expectation is that let me just do this. In the Variety article, they kind of added more details, right? They mentioned how, with Gunn focused on Superman Legacy for the foreseeable future, season 2 of Peacemaker will be put on hold. Instead, Team Peacemaker will appear alongside Davis as a continuation of that show. Gunn said, which, spoiler alert for season 1 of Peacemaker, ended with Waller's daughter, Leota Adebayo, outing Task Force X and Waller's role running it to the world. Along with Crystal Henry, who was part of the DCU Writers Room, Waller will be executive produced by Jeremy Carver, who created the beloved DC series Doom Patrol, which was recently canceled by HBO Max. So this one is interesting. Like I said, this one we actually know a little bit more about the people that are actually producing the show. which I think is really important. We learn about Crystal Henry, who's part of the DCU writers' room. I looked up Crystal Henry a little bit. Now, if you don't know who Crystal Henry is, let me just do a little bit of an explanation. A couple years ago, HBO or HBO Max, I forget if it was HBO or HBO Max, they put together a nice little TV show called The Watchmen. It was a continuation or a spiritual sequel to the Alan Moore comic from years ago, and it was continuing or a reimagining of the Watchmen story and characters. It was kind of like a pseudo sequel, spiritual successor type thing. I thought it was cool. The series starred Regina King and Yahya Abdul Mateen. Um, thought it was a really, really, really cool show. And Crystal Henry was like a lead writer in that. And now she's going to be involved with Waller. I love The Watchmen. I love the original version, the original comic. I love Zack Snyder's Ultimate Director's Cut edition. I love this TV series continuation of it. I thought it was a really, really cool, really, really fun sequel. So I'm really excited to see that Crystal Henry is going to be able to put her spin or her stamp or her influence on this Waller show to give us a really cool story. So I'm excited for that. Um, and also, Waller is another show that's expected to release before 2025. Work. Okay. So, with this show expected to launch before 2025, before at least July 11th, 2025, because it's supposed to come out before Superman Legacy, um, this thing needs to start getting into production soon. I think I saw something online like Viola Davis finally like reacted to the news about her returning, and she just expressed enthusiasm and excitement about it. But I don't think there were really more details about this project besides that. Um, I think with this one, there's going to be a lot of assumptions, especially because they kind of implied a lot with what details they gave. They mentioned how this one is going to be a continuation of story, or at least a return of the Peacemaker crew for this show. So I wonder if John Cena is going to be cast in the show. I expect him to at least make a cameo, but I wonder if he's going to be like in the series, or Idris Elba or someone like that. Um, or just other people out of the Peacemaker cast. This could just be Peacemaker season 2 or 1.5, right? So we'll see how that goes. Now, Waller, I love Viola Davis. That's not the meat and potatoes of this announcement. It's not. For me, for me, the biggest, most exciting announcement out of this, as far as TV is concerned, aside from Booster Gold, is Lanterns. Now, Lanterns is going to be the new HBO level series about Green Lantern. It's safe, y'all. It's safe. I was really, really nervous because HBO has been developing a Green Lantern project for what feels like forever. And it's just something that never actually made it into production. And they were doing the most. They were just doing the most. Everything that I heard about the project just sounded weird. They had Alan Scott being the main Green Lantern, and for some reason, he was going to be a member of the Green Lantern Corps. And I'm not going to explain it for my non comic book fans. Maybe I'll do something on the side for you guys. But Alan Scott is not the same kind of Green Lantern as Hal Jordan. It's kind of like, they kind of have the same abilities, but they play for two different teams, right? One's on the Knicks, one's on the Nets. They're not really the same team. They just do the same stuff. So they're going to do something with Alan Scott playing with or working alongside Green Lantern from the Green Lantern Corps. But it was just sounding weird, right? Especially if you're familiar with DC Comics and the nuances of these characters' oranges. This is a big change, and it was making me nervous. I'm glad that that is not happening, and what we're instead getting is a Green Lantern that's or lanterns that's going to tell the story of a couple of protagonists. With this show, we're learning that. Well, let me just read a little bit of what was said in that Variety article, um, and then let's dive into that. Let's analyze that. Hold on, let me just see real quick where you guys are. So the thing that was said about oh, lanterns. There we go. So what's interesting again, this is going to be a show taking place with two protagonists. We're going to have John Stewart and we're going to have Hal Jordan working together. And in that Variety article, there were a lot more details spilled about the show that wasn't a part of the initial announcement. James Gunn, he did the most he could. He did it all in 6 minutes. He tried to keep it a tight 6 minutes, or his editors did. I don't know, but all the details came out afterwards, and some of the best ones came out in this Variety article. It reads as follows: of all the TV series, Safran and Gunn seem most excited for Lanterns, which Safran described as a huge HBO quality event that is very much in vein of True Detective. The show will focus on the two best known members of the Green Lantern Corps, Hal Jordan, the test pilot first played on screen by Ryan Reynolds in 2011's Green Lantern, and John Stewart, an ex-Marine and one of DC's first black superheroes, who investigates a mystery that Safran said plays a really big role, leading us into the main story that we're telling across our film and television. So this is a very important show for us, Safran continued. So I like that they specifically highlighted that this was probably the show that they were most excited for. Now, the Green Lantern mythos, the whole thing with all the different spectrums of lanterns, it gets really, really deep. It gets really dense, and it gets really, really exciting as you get further into the complexities of the story. I am a huge Green Lantern fan. I became a Green Lantern fan ever since that monumental run by comic book writer Jeff Johns, reintroducing and reinvigorating Hal Jordan for the 20th century. His story of Green Lantern rebirth, bringing back Green Lantern, reinventing the emotional spectrum, the reason why the Green Lanterns have a weakness to yellow, all this stuff. Jeff Johns is the reason I am a Green Lantern fan, and I am excited at the idea that they might touch one iota of the amazing scope and grandeur of the stories told in his writing. So yeah, super duper excited for that. If they could get anything close to like, I'm not even gonna go to like Blackest Night or anything like that. I'm like just like, if they can give us anything close to just Green Lantern Rebirth, where it was just the reintroduction and the invention of the fear entity, and maybe explain what parallax is, and just give us a little bit of something there, I'll be really, really excited. They did mention it was going to be in vein of True Detective. That's pretty cool. Serial cop show where every week they take down a new monster or something. That'd be kind of cool. But they also mentioned that Green Lantern is going to kind of hint at exploring some of the mysteries of the greater DC universe. So apparently there's going to be a larger mystery at play, working in the background that we'll be able to kind of decipher and see clues of in throughout the DC projects. And HBO's Lanterns is going to be one where we're going to see that coming up in the forefront. So again, this is probably the one I'm the most excited for. I definitely, well, I say that about every project, but this is definitely one I'm super excited for. You know, Green Lantern. Yeah, I don't think you guys understand how much of a Green Lantern fan I am. Yeah, yeah, it's on deck. keep these on deck just in case I need it. Always armed, always strapped. Me and my little Green Lantern ring. Oh, and I have a. You guys probably don't even know what this one is. This is only for the real initiated. You got to be extra, extra in to know what this ring is. No, it's not the violet. No, it's not the. You know what? I don't know who's watching this, but you get 10 extra points if you can tell me what Lantern Core ring this is. If you could tell me what Lantern Core ring this is, 10 points to the viewer for that. Or just a shout out on the next video. I'll definitely do that. What up, what up? Oh, a couple people came in and out on YouTube. What up? Next time, stick around a little longer. Say something in the comments. A little something for you. Yeah, I just went a little bit out of focus. Let me see if I can get this working again. Well, camera went a little bit out of focus. It'll come back, but let's just hop right back into where we were. All right. So the next thing that came up as part of this slate after the announcement of Lanterns, which I thought was still pretty awesome. I'm still waiting on casting and details and all that stuff. After that, he went on to go. Oh, before I switch, no cast, no director, no. We didn't get any details about Lanterns. I thought that was interesting, especially because it was the one that they said that they were the most excited for. But like Waller's got a cast, Creature Commandos has got a writer, Superman's got a writer, but Lanterns is still up in the winds, I guess, a little bit. So I'm curious to see what they do with this, and who's going to be involved with making it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Next one, like I said, DC's Paradise Lost. Now, this one is going to be really, really exciting because they called this one their equivalent to like their Game of Thrones. Now, it's coming to HBO Max as part of the Gods and Monsters chapters. We know that much, right? And Variety also had a little bit more details about this specific story as part of the. I guess they invited some press to the Warner Brothers lot the day before the announcement. They didn't invite everybody, but they invited some people, and they were able to ask them questions about stuff. So what came out is exactly this. This Game of Thrones-ish story, Saffron said, is set on the island of Themyscira before the birth of Diana, a.k.a. Wonder Woman. It's really about the political intrigue about a society of all women, Saffron said. And then Gunn added, how did that come about? What's the origin of an island of all women? What are the beautiful truths and the ugly truths behind all of that? And what's the scheming like between the different power players in that society? The provocative title recalls the Paradise Island Lost comic series authored by Phil Jimenez and George Perez, which followed a civil war in Themyscira. However, that run directly involved Wonder Woman. Now, this is really, really interesting to see if they might be showing us a historical civil war that occurred on Paradise Island. Now, the island of all women, known as Paradise Island, Themyscira, it wasn't always all women, right? At some point, there used to be men there. Yes, they did break away from the men. Yes, it is a really interesting story about how that happened and what happened with all the men. Where did they go? They didn't just disappear, did they? Hold on, let me. So it's going to be really exciting to see them explore this story. Give us a little bit more into the history of the DC universe, maybe a little bit more about some of the events that are going to lead up to the larger story. I know when I was watching all the stuff of the old DCEU, the Snyderverse, I remember all that stuff. Some of my favorite moments in DC cinematic history occurred on Themyscira, on Paradise Island. There were just like so many cool scenes with these women just doing amazing stuff. It was a beautiful island. It was a beautiful culture, some beautiful battles. It was a very, very interesting environment to be introduced to as part of Wonder Woman. And I can't wait to learn more about the history of the DC universe through the lens of Paradise Island on the island of Themyscira. I think it's going to be interesting. I'm assuming we're going to have like characters like Hippolyta and Zeus be a part of that. Maybe like Aphrodite and Ares and more of the other Greek gods like as well. I'm assuming that we're going to get all of these characters, and we're going to hear about casting for everything soon. I don't know if we're going to get like Diane Lane coming back for this one, but we'll see. We'll see. Um, moving right along. After what did he do after the Paradise Lost? There was it Booster Gold now, right? Yeah. So, hmm, I am a huge Booster Gold fan. Hold on, I this is irking me a little. Like, I gotta focus. I gotta see you guys. You guys have got to see me. Gotta be on the same page. Anyway, I'm gonna keep going while I mess around with this camera a little bit. It's a little annoying. It's like it's getting worse. Um, Booster Gold is coming to HBO Max, and I think that's going to be really, really, really cool. Booster Gold is the best hero you've never heard of, and I think that they need to start putting some respect on this man's name. Something that was interesting that came out besides the announcement of the project in the first place is that it's going to be a comedy, like outright comedy, like not even hiding or pretending, outright comedy. He's not going to be a familiar name to casual DC fans. The character is known as Mike Carter. He's a fan favorite among devoted readers. And Saffron Cold Booster, a loser from the future who uses basic future technology to come back today and pretend to be a superhero. So, first off, I don't like that they call him a man's a loser. Like, Booster Gold is not a loser. This man has saved the world more times than you know of, and you're able to sleep at night because of his efforts and actions. There's no reason to be slandering his name like that. Unacceptable. Like, Booster Gold is one of my favorite time traveling stories. I know that in the DC comics that we've had a lot of stories where it almost seemed like they were setting him up to be a lot more important than he ended up actually ever being. Like I remember when the DC New 52 reboot occurred, he was like on a mission to kind of try to restore the old DC universe, and it just never went anywhere at all. So I'm curious to see if this is going to be something like that. Is Booster Gold going to be like running around the DC universe threatening to restore the Snyderverse? I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be funny, especially if he's able to like travel the multiverse or even visit other iterations of the characters and his time traveling ability. it sounds like it's going to be like their own little quantum leap almost type thing. I'm excited to see where they go with it and what might come out of it. Um, Now, a lot of people just don't know who Booster Gold is. I did a little quick video kind of explaining it. I'll give you a quick recap right now. So, Booster Gold is a hero from the future, right? Kind of. He's actually just a regular guy in the future. He was like an ex football star who got injured and didn't make it quite the way that he had hoped to. Ends up being like a janitor at a superhero museum in the future where he's like cleaning up the equipment of the heroes of Earth's heyday, right? This is well beyond the Justice League. I don't know if it's before the Legion of Superheroes. I don't know exactly where it falls in the timeline, but essentially he has access to like all this superhero technology and equipment. He's able to like use the technology from the advanced tech in the future, travel back in time with whatever equipment he found from other superheroes, like a Legionnaire's flight ring and the Legion of Superheroes flight ring and a few other things, and use the equipment that he stole to pretend to be a hero. Like he just showed up one day with their equipment in, the time of the Justice League, contemporary times, let's just call it that, and was like, "Yeah, it's me, Booster Gold. I've been a hero. I've been working with you guys forever." And everybody's like, "Who is that guy? I don't remember him." He's just like pretending to be a hero, trying to blend in with the other heroes and get a little bit of fame and money in the process. Now, that doesn't make him a loser, right? He's just misunderstood. He means well, and he just wants to get paid and recognition for his efforts. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing loserish about it. Um, but yeah, that's Booster Gold. And then, of course, there's the big one. Who's this? Superman Legacy coming to theaters July 11th, 2025. So I want to say this is the first movie that was a part of the announcement, and it is going to be the big one. They're calling this character Superman the character that all the other heroes revolve around. They're just in his orbit. Um, Variety had more information besides the release date. They confirmed that this is going to be the start of the DCU. It's not going to be an origin story. It's going to be a story of the Man of Steel where he's already established. It balances on a Superman. It focuses on a Superman balancing his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing. Safran said, "He's the embodiment of truth, justice, and the American way. He is a kindness in a world that thinks of kindness as old-fashioned." Gunn is writing the project, and Safran said he hopes Gunn can be persuaded, perhaps, to direct it as well. Gunn, sitting right next to Safran, remained uncharacteristically poker-faced in response. Warner Brothers Discovery David Zaslav made no secret that rebooting Superman was a top priority for the company as he spent much of 2022 searching for the right leaders for DC Studios. So it's little surprise Gunn and Safran are turning to the most recognizable hero in the world to lead the charge for the DCU. Superman is for everyone. That's a 4-quadrant film that should speak to everyone in the world. So I just had to chuckle a little bit at that one line about Gunn sitting right next to Safran and remaining uncharacteristically poker faced in response. I can't even imagine what the room was like because I wasn't invited, but I never have seen him poker faced. He's sitting there saying, man, James is writing it and maybe we can persuade him to direct it too. And he's like, he don't want to direct Superman? I mean, he's already the CEO of the company, right? He doesn't need to direct Superman. It's not going to put a feather in his cap any more than it already has. And then it would also set the expectation of him doing other Superman films, right? If you did one, you got to do the sequel. It's got to be a trilogy, right? Does he really want to get that committed to a project like that? He probably feels pressured to, because he did take the CEO job. He knows that this is the flagship character. He knows that this is very, very important. However, he also knows he never intended to ever, 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 ever do a project like Superman or the Justice League. If you look at his old tweets, if you look at his past, you'll find that he has been asked online before if he would ever want to do like a mainstream character. His meat and potatoes, his bread and butter is with those offbeat, loser type characters that just really save the world under the noses of everyone else, kind of like a Booster Gold. But it's really not with the mainstream characters. He probably has the skill set to do it, but he doesn't have the desire to do it. But he's going to get it. He's going to get pressured to do it either way. And we'll see if he ends up doing it. I'm not at all excited about this project. I want to be. I really do want to be. I want to be more excited for this because it's Superman, right? Superman should be really, really the most exciting of all of them. Like, why not, right? He should be up there with Batman. But there's a couple things about this project that's just really not doing it for me. One, I'm not a huge fan of Grant Morrison. Not Grant Morrison, I think, has a lot of interesting ideas. I just don't like the execution in Grant Morrison stories. And the image used in this, I think it's All-Star Superman by Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely. I mean, there was a lot of Grant Morrison being quoted all throughout this thing, and it doesn't really sit well with me. But this one in particular look, I'm not a fan of Grant Morrison's writing. I'm not a fan of James Gunn's writing. And now we're going to take those two together and make a Superman movie. It's not really giving me the recipe for success here. I'm very happy that all these rich, successful people are going to have an opportunity to get even richer and more successful. But man. Now, like All-Star Superman, if I remember it, if it's anything like the animated one, I don't think a lot of people liked it. Like, it wasn't like, out of all the Superman movies, like Superman Brainiac, Superman Unbound, like all these stories starring Superman, Superman Doomsday, like all these stories of Superman that would get fans excited. I'm like, this is a really, really is a really niche one to pick to sit here and use to reintroduce Superman to the greater audiences. I wish them well, but I'm not excited for this one yet. I know. Yeah, I know. I know there's Grant Morrison fans out there somewhere. I'm just not one of them. A separate Superman movie produced by J.J. Abrams through Bad Robot and written by Ta-Nehisi Coates remains in development and would exist outside the DC. Why? Why are they still doing that? Isn't that the Superman movie? No, everybody was wondering why they were making it. Like it was like a meme. It was like absolutely nobody. Silence. DC Studios. Here's the black Superman you asked for. It's like getting food you didn't order. Like, what is this? Why did you bring this to me? This is weird. It's a whole bunch of weird stuff. Yeah. For all the people who are excited about Superman, I'm very, very happy for you. Let me know if there's something to be excited about. Maybe it's something I'm missing. Maybe there's something I just don't get. Hmm. All right, what else we got? We got the Batman, the Brave and the Bold. So this one's going to be kind of interesting. I'm kind of curious about it because of a lot of things that happened that weren't like explicitly said, but they're definitely implied. So one thing is that the Brave and the Bold is going to be how we get introduced to DC Universe's Batman. Um, they also announced that Matt Reeves' Batman is still going to continue. It's going to be Elseworlds Batman, but that won't count. I mean, it won't. It won't. It'll count. It's still a Batman movie. It's just it's not going to be like the main Batman. It's going to be Elseworlds Batman, right? So this is going to be like the Batman that we're going to see for the next 10 years, and that's the Robert Pattinson's Batman. That's just Elseworlds Batman. It's not like the real. Is I mean, it's not like the main Batman. Um, it is Batman, but it's not the main Batman. That's like the other Batman. Like if you had Batman at home, that no. I mean like you know what? Let me just stop, right? Because I'm not going to say this right. But it's a new Batman. You know what? Let me just read the article, right? Because like I'm just gonna get in trouble. Like Warner Brothers, don't blacklist me. Variety. Their news reads as follows. Along with introducing the DC Universe's version of Batman, who will exist separately from the version played by Robert Pattinson in the Batman movies, the Brave and the Bold will introduce the Bat family. First among them is Robin, who is returning fully to live action movies for the first time since 1997's ill fated feature Batman and Robin. This version of Robin is Damian Wayne. Gunn described him as our favorite Robin, a little son of a bitch, an assassin, and a murderer. Damian is Bruce Wayne's biological son, a fact unknown to Wayne for the first 8 to 10 years of Damian's life. It's a very strange sort of father-son story about the two of them. The project is based on a run of Batman comics authored by Grant Morrison, and who Gunn said was exceptionally influential on the right on cue, right? Like Grant Morrison was exceptionally influential on the DCU. The other comics writer Gunn mentioned by name was Tom King, who participated in the DCU writers' room and leads right into the next feature project. So it's an interesting story. I think this is going to show us a Batman that's in his career. I have a theory about it, The Brave and the Bold, because they didn't really say it's going to really introduce us to our new Batman. He said it's going to introduce us to the Bat family. So I'm almost wondering if this Bat movie might not have Batman all up in it like that. Now, what makes me wonder that is if you guys look at this image here, right? This is the image that was used to kind of introduce the project to us. And you see Robin, Damian Wayne holding a sword with Batman looking down, not realizing that Robin's about to take his head off or something, right? At least that's what it looks like. What's interesting to me in this image as a comic fan is see this dude right here? That's not Bruce Wayne. This dude right here in this Batman suit, that is not Bruce Wayne. That is Dick Grayson. See, this comic book story that's used in this image as inspiration actually takes place in a time when Batman had gone missing, or at least Bruce Wayne had gone missing. He had, man, I almost went on the whole explanation. Let's just say he went missing after having an adventure with the Justice League against Darkseid. The Bat family was investigating his disappearance. Damian was operating with Dick Grayson, who stepped up into the role of Batman as his Robin. So Batman and Robin in this image is actually Dick Grayson and Damian Wayne, the two sons of Batman, investigating the disappearance of Bruce Wayne after he went on an adventure with the Justice League. I really, really am curious if this is going to be a story or a film where we just explore the Bat family and their interactions as opposed to an actual story about Batman. And I think that for a couple reasons. I don't think that James Gunn really wants to have competing Batmen in theaters, and I don't think David Zaslav wants that either. I think that if Robert Pattinson is going to be the official cinematic, or let's not say official cinematic, if he's going to be the flagship cinematic Batman, I don't think they're going to really put out another one to compete with him in that way. I think that they're instead going to focus on maybe doing a series or a film that focuses on Batman's supporting cast, push them up, right? Maybe even let Dick Grayson be Batman for the movie looking for Bruce Wayne. something to that effect. I think that that's probably the direction they're going to go, just to not have two competing Bruce Waynes in theaters. It would be a cool way to introduce the Bat family. It would give a cool storyline justification for introducing the Bat family, to the general audiences, in a way to get us to know Damian Wayne. I'm curious to see how to work out. I don't know if audiences will be accepting of a Batman story without Batman in it. I mean, they've done it a couple times. They did Gotham, they did Titans, and they did all these other shows where it's like Batman ish without Batman, but I don't know if this will work in film. We'll see, though. I think the important thing is going to be whoever they cast as Damian Wayne, because if that is the storyline approach they decide to take, Damian's going to be like, the main attraction. It's going to have to be someone that I want to see be that crazy son of a bitch assassin and wreak havoc and torturing, mentally torturing, or just giving a hard time to the Bat family when they're just trying to fight crime. It's like, damn, Damien, can you just stop killing for a second? I'm trying to fucking question the Joker. Like, yo, like, if they could just, if that's the way they go, Damien is gonna be the most important one in there, honestly, hands down. Um, and to a degree, Dick Grayson. But they also have a lot of other characters they could fill in too, right? They could be Red Hood. They could have Jason Todd. They could have Tim Drake, Robin. They could have Batwoman. They could have a whole bunch of people. Alfred. But that's what we know as far as like the Brave and the Bold, the Bat family, and where they're going, and at least what my theory is for the story here. Because again, that dude right there, that's not Bruce Wayne. Yo, what up? For you, those of you joining just now, sorry, my camera got a little blurry. I lost focus a little while, but stay with me. I'm gonna get it working. But we still rocking through these announcements that are happening or happened. Um, but yeah, that was what happened with the Brave and the Bold. I think it's going to be an interesting movie. No announced date, no introduction as far as like cast, actors, writers, directors, nothing. We have nothing when it comes to the Brave and the Bold, except that it's going to be based on stories written by Grant Morrison, for better or worse. um, the next one I got here is, well, this is something else. This is supposed to be my bonus. Let me go. Mm, mm. Um, Now we know that they're also doing a Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow series. So I didn't really know what to say about this one, because here's the thing. Supergirl has been around for a while, right? They've tried to work Supergirl into the mainstream audiences, whether in that old 1984 movie or in comic books. It's just like something about Supergirl just doesn't always take. I think the people like the idea of Supergirl. It's just we haven't gotten any Supergirl stories that have really been like cool or memorable or anything. And but fans were starting to get interested or re-interested in the character when they announced that Sasha Cali was cast to be Supergirl in the Flash movie. So this particular article I have right now is about whether or not Sasha Cali is going to continue as Supergirl after the Flash. Maybe she'll be the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow in that film series. We just don't know yet. We don't know a lot about this film. We don't know the actors. We don't know who's writing it. We don't know who's directing it. We don't know anything. But we do know that it will be based on the series Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow by the writer Tom King. I love that Tom King is involved in this writer's room. I love that he's been invited to the table. I was very disappointed when him and Ava DuVernay kind of had their project canceled when they were doing the Dark Side project. I was really looking forward to that, to the New Gods. But I'm really, really excited that he's part of this, especially with that particular story. Now, I'll be honest with you. I read a lot of Tom King stuff, a lot. You do not want to wait to read his next issue. It's like every issue ends on such a high note. My anxiety level reaches a fever point when I have to put down the book and wait like 3 or 4 weeks for the next issue. Usually I read his stuff. I usually read it in the trade. I read the Omega Men that way. The Omega Men. The Omega Men with Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner. I read Batman Catwoman that way. I read his Batman run week in week out, which was fantastic. But Supergirl, I waited for the trade. What's interesting is it just ended like a few weeks ago. Like this is a brand new story. It's not that old at all, hot off the presses. This is unprecedented to see a story adapted to film so quickly. Um, and I think it's unprecedented that they're using a Tom King story so soon. So we're trying to figure out what details we're going to have or what information is out there with Supergirl. Well, we know this story is going to be a spacefaring Supergirl. I am reading the Supergirl comic right now. There's a lot that goes on. Like I'm going to put together one of those explainer videos. So in case you guys don't want to read it, it's probably going to be two, maybe three videos total because it's a lot. It's a 12 issue series. But it's a story about in which Kara Zor-El, which is Supergirl's real name, she goes out into space to celebrate her 21st birthday. She goes to like a planet that is surrounded by red suns, because she wants to get drunk. Right? It's her 21st birthday. She's she's taking a day off. She's trying to let her hair down, so to speak, and she's just kick back a few drinks and finally get drunk. And she can't normally do that under Earth's yellow sun because her body metabolizes the alcohol too quickly. She can't get drunk. But under the effects of a red sun with the red solar radiation, it actually diminishes her powers to the point where the alcohol have an impact on her that she can actually feel inebriated. The whole story then goes to an adventure of a young woman who is look seeking revenge. Her father was murdered by some random warlord, and she's like this well-spoken, well-educated little alien girl who's like politely going up to bounty hunters and seeing if they would be interested in the services of embarking in her services of revenge of killing the man who killed her father. And it's so cute. It's a wonderful little story in which she teams up with Supergirl to try to explore herself, explore her way in the world, help Supergirl explore herself, her way in the world, while also seeking revenge on the man who killed her father. I like the story so far. Again, I'm only a couple issues in. As soon as I'm done, I'm going to immediately put together a video for you guys so you guys can catch up with me. But so far, the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow project looks really interesting. They're rumoring to potentially keep Sasha Cali in the role, depending on, I guess, fan reception of her. Um, but that's what we know so far about the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow show or movie. Yeah, that was a lot. Oh, yo, what up? Thanks for joining us. Hey, I see you there. Do me a favor, hit that like button. Yeah, I see you watching. Yeah, you. Yeah, hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. Thank you for joining. I really appreciate it. Listen, I don't go live often. I'm talking to you because I really, really appreciate it. Thank you. Um, let's see. There were some more projects, right? And then I'm about to wrap this up. We've been going live for a little over an hour. All right, yeah. Let me start to wrap this up. Swamp Thing. So Swamp Thing was announced. So Swamp Thing. What do I have to say about Swamp Thing? I say I assume a lot, right? I assume a lot of people are already familiar with Swamp Thing. Like I grew up. I think there was like a '80s Swamp Thing movie when I was a kid, right? It was always that creature that was in the swamp where he's like half man, half swamp creature trying to, but he's like an eco terrorist or something. He's like protecting the swamps. I forget the plot, but Swamp Thing. I know the real plot, but I don't remember the plot of the movie. Swamp Thing is a creature or a man who like fell into a swamp, got absorbed by the swamp when he was like being chased by people. Actually, maybe I don't know the story of Swamp Thing, but if I do know it was like Alex Holland or something like that. He like fell into the swamps, and the swamps like were alive. The plant life was alive and absorbed his essence, and then like after they absorbed his essence, it the plant became a humanoid creature that thought it was Alex because it absorbed all his memories and stuff. And he started walking around and saying, I'm Swamp Thing, but he remembered everything Alex did as if he had lived as Alex and he was Alex. Um, Craziness, right? But what I like about the character and what I'm so excited is about the version that we actually got to see in the most recent reboot in the New 52. In that iteration, I think it was written by Scott Snyder. It explained that Swamp Thing was actually like a totem character or something like that, where he's like a essence of the planet. He's actually an avatar for a primordial force called the Green. And the green is like a representation of all plant life. It's like this force of energy. If you're, and there's different types of avatars, right? There's one for plants, the green. There's one for living, biological animals. That's the red, and then there's so on and so forth. With Animal Man being that avatar, Swamp Thing being the avatar of the green reinvigorates the character, makes him more of like an eco terrorist, and makes him a little bit more interesting to me, especially when you team him up with Poison Ivy. But the the interesting thing here is that James Mangold seemingly is in talks to direct the movie. Now, James Mangold, you might remember him from the Wolverine. That was the one when Wolverine went to Japan. Then he also directed Logan. That was with Old Man Logan with Charles Xavier in X-23. And right now he's putting the finishing touches on the new Indiana Jones movie, which I think looks pretty interesting. I'm curious about it. We'll see. But I don't think I've ever seen him do anything like this, like straight up horror. James Mangold, I'll be honest, he wouldn't have been my first pick for this. My first pick would have been James Wan. Like I don't know why James Wan isn't in the conversation. He's the person who should. If James Wan was directing Swamp. All right, calm down, calm down, calm down. James Mangold might direct Swamp Thing, not James Wan. James Mangold is a good director. I could see him crossing over. I've never seen him do horror. I think he's a talented enough that he probably has the range to transition into horror and do something really cool. Um, but he's somebody who's rumored to be in talks to take over the project right now. Let me see if there was anything else in that Variety article specific to Swamp Thing. I don't think there was. Okay, let's just take a quick look see real quick just to make sure I cover everything. I don't want to leave you guys uncovered. Easily the most extreme example of Gunn and Safran's conviction to diversify the DCU, Swamp Thing will investigate the dark origins of Swamp Thing, Safran said through. I hate when they do that. These browsers, right? Through the prism of horror. By the way of explaining further, Gunn referenced the initial reactions to the Guardians of the Galaxy joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe and initial questions about how Rocket Raccoon would work standing next to Thor. That mashup quality wound up being one of the highlights of Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, Gunn argued. Gunn said they're one-upping that approach with Swamp Thing. This is much more horrific film and will still have Swamp Thing interact with the other characters, he added. So, Swamp Thing interacting with, like, Wonder Woman, Detective Chimp, Constantine, Superman, horror? It's almost like it. I don't know. I know what I do know, right? Like I imagine Immortal Hulk. For you guys who might have the comic book fans, Immortal Hulk is like the Hulk story through the lens of horror. It was like him being able to terrorize and strike fear in his enemies in a whole new way. Very good series written by Al Ewing. But what was interesting about it is that it showed us the Marvel Universe through the lens of horror. And we were able to see the Hulk's view of the Avengers through the lens of horror. And that is what I imagine when I hear this with Swamp Thing. I can only imagine like some of the dark imagery, some of the dark approaches that they or the weird interactions that they could have with such a creature, right? Like it could get really, really interesting. Like Swamp Thing just like fighting Superman and just stretching leaves all around him and enveloping the Man of Steel in vines, and then Superman just like using his laser eyes and just burning his way out. Like it could make for some really cool imagery if they really decide to dive and lean into that. Um, but that's what we have for Swamp Thing. I think that was the majority of the announcements, right? That was pretty much everything. I know I didn't talk about the Authority. I'm not super excited about the Authority. I don't think people are really excited about the Authority as much as James Gunn is excited about the Authority, but I'm not really excited about it. It's like it's not quite the Justice League. It's like a interesting Justice League light, right? With Midnighter and Apollo, and it's I don't remember there being an interesting story about the Authority that really was like, oh, I got to see that. I'd rather see Divine Right before I see the Authority. That's just me, right? Max Faraday's adventures were more interesting than this, but it is what it is. But yeah, I think that's everything. That's a full slate. James Gunn gave us a lot to really dive into and to digest. Um, Real quick, one thing that I thought was really interesting was that this is going to be a new DC universe, right? This is going to be a new DCU, out with the old, in with the new. We get to do things over from scratch, and we get to do things in a better way. Um, Me and my buddy, you guys know me and E-Man from E-Man's Movie Reviews. This is my boy, this is my bro. We talk a lot, and we were discussing the slate, or we were trying to discuss the slate. We've been trying to discuss this slate since it was announced. We ain't discussed this slate yet, but one thing we did do was we looked at all the titles that were announced, and he asked me a question. He was like, "Are there any movies with like a lead with a black man or woman?" And we looked at the projects and we saw, well, first off, we got Amanda Waller with Viola Davis. That is amazing because she's a fantastic. Like they don't realize how lucky they are to have Viola Davis playing this role. So I'm super excited for her to come back with that. In addition to that, we got John Stewart, Green Lantern. He's coming in. He's coming back to represent. He's coming back finally after all these years. Been waiting since Justice League Unlimited for the return of John Stewart. He's finally coming back. We're going to get him in Lanterns on HBO Max. But my man E-Man, he was like, "Yo, are there any in films?" I was like, "Nah, I don't think there's any in film." So we decided, like, yo, this might be an opportunity because he made this announcement on January 31st that they're, the DC slate and all the projects that were going to be coming out. And we were looking at it, and it's like it's February 1st. It's like, yo, it dawned on us that it was the first day of Black History Month. So we started brainstorming. We're like, yo, how can we, what can we do here, right? So we decided that we were gonna settle on setting up a tweet, right? Because James Gunn is all over social media. He's super responsive. He's super active. If you tweet him, you just might get a response, right? You just might get a response. There's no guarantee, but he does look at stuff. So we decided to brainstorm on, like, all right, let's do a tweet. Um, let's try to be very, tactical with what type of question we want to ask. And we landed on asking him a very, very specific question using E-Man's platform. He's got the bigger platform. So we figured that would be the best chance for us to get his attention. So on February 1st, we noticed the omission of any notable Black DC characters in the first chapter of the DCU. And we decided to just write him a Dear James letter. And it reads as follows: Dear James Gunn, today is the first day of hashtag Black History Month. Thanks for bringing Waller and Jon Stewart to TV. Who's going to make history and become the first black lead in a live action DCU movie? And that's a fair question, right? Black History Month. It's the first day. We're getting Waller on HBO Max, and there's going to be Jon Stewart on Lanterns on HBO Max. But we wanted to know who was going to be the first lead in a DCU movie. And I will admit this: he didn't tweet us back. Like, this isn't going to end in a story where it's like, oh, he tweeted us and things and the confetti. And it's not ending like that. But while he didn't tweet us back, he did like our post. So James Gunn is busy, right? The dude is very, very busy. He's supposed to be in the middle of writing Superman. He's fielding questions from press. He's tweeting nonstop. He's supposed to be really, really busy. And although we didn't get a full response from him, it does feel good to feel seen. And he didn't have to like it, right? He didn't have to double tap. He didn't. But he chose to double tap anyway. So all I'm saying is it's interesting. He hasn't announced all of the projects yet. We do know that other Superman project is coming. Not main Superman, Elseworld Superman. Kind of like Robert Pattinson Batman. It's not the main one. It's the Elseworlds one. That other one is coming from J.J. Abrams and Bad Robot. But what's going to be the first black lead in a DCU movie? And the fact that he is showing, I guess, in our own way, some public support for the question. Is that a stretch? Can I say that? Can I say that? Is that public support when you double tap and like something? I think so. But it looks like he's showing some acknowledgement of the desire for a black lead in a live action DCU movie. We got his attention, y'all. We did it. We did it. Mission complete. Mission complete. First it was Nate Moore, then it was Angela Bassett. Now it's James Gunn. Who's next? Who we got to get a hold of next? You want us to get a hold of Kevin Feige? We could do this. Anyway, that's all I have for this one. Thank you guys for sitting here and joining me on this live stream. Oh, hey, Ash Ronald, I appreciate you. Thank you. I can't wait for the whole DC slate too. I'm excited to see the whole thing. But thank you guys for joining me on this whole show. If you guys have any more information, if there's anything that I missed about the DC slate, do me a favor. If you can't put it in the comments for the live chat, leave it in the comments for this video. I'll try to see if I can circle back and add it to another video. If you like these videos, you want to see more, you want to join us on our next live chat, do me a favor. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you turn on the notifications. Otherwise, I got to check you guys later. Peace.